In this video, we will look at how to create a .NET API project using Visual Studio and understand the basic structure of the project that's created. So to start with, open up your Visual Studio 2022 or the 2019 version that is installed. If you do not have it, you could install a community edition of Visual Studio and you'll be able to follow through the demo. So in order to create a new project, I'll go to create a new project, and you could search for the API projects or the details that you're looking for, or you can also filter based on the language or the platforms you're looking for. So I search for API. Here I see the ASP.NET Core Web API. So go ahead and select and say next. Now here I can give a name for my project. .NET API.demo. I'm storing it in a particular folder. And now and then the next I need to configure the framework that is required. So I have .NET 6.0 installed. If you have multiple versions installed, you will get an option to choose your .NET version and what is the kind of authentication type that is required. Right now I'll set it as none. And you can also enable Docker, which basically includes the Docker file to build your application. So we'll do this later. Right now, I will keep it default and then go ahead. And you can also enable an OpenAPI support, which basically enables the Swagger documentation and the Swagger yeah, setup for your APIs. So once I say go ahead and create, there's a basic structure that is created, uh, which we can get started with. So if you look into the files, by default, there is a controller folder. So any controllers that you create or any APIs that you want to expose, you'll have to create a controller under the controllers folder. App settings is a settings file. We'll get into details about how to manage configuration settings and deploy or edit them in a future videos. And program.cs is where you will configure the basic structure and services that you want to include and the kind of Swagger documentations that you want to have. One thing to note here is the Swagger documentation, which is enabled, is for a dev environment as well. So what it means that if you go ahead and deploy the release version into say cloud or on-premise, you will not see the Swagger UI unless you remove this condition and then deploy. So you may get a feeling that application is not working on the cloud, even though it could be working. So generally I disable this, especially if you want to uh, expose the Swagger UI to the end user. So yeah, so these are the basic settings which we will go into detail about how to use authorization, how to map controllers and various others. Weather forecast is a model. Every REST API is driven by a model, and here there are some properties defined, and there's the weather forecast controller basically exposes a set of random data, and then it shows up the weather forecast there. So in order to run, I can basically select where I want to run in IIS Express or deploy into a browser. So let's go ahead and start. I'm just debugging the application here. So once it's built and you should see this the Swagger documentation. Here I will be able to go around and check out the responses that are possible from this API, and I can also try out the API. This API doesn't take any parameters, so I don't see parameters to be requesting. So once I click on execute, the logic is executed and you get the response. So this is a basic step towards creating the project and steps to create the project and then understand the basic. In the next videos, we will understand step by step on how to create controllers, how to configure settings, and various other activities.